I would absolutely love to direct Amitabh Bachchan sir. I would love to direct Shah Rukh Khan sir. Aamir Khan sir is a big inspiration for me, both as an actor and a filmmaker. A film like Aadajivitham, a film like Goat Life, is unthinkable in Malayalam 15 years back. I am a huge fan of Prashant Neel. He's a very, very special filmmaker who has a very specific skill set that very, very few filmmakers in India or in the world have. It's a joy to be watching someone like that operate. I have learned a lot from Prashant and I've learned a lot from Prabhas. I found it very flattering that Sachin thought the object of Rani Mukherji's affection and lust should be me. So make no mistake, I had a ball for me. Akshay sir is a good friend today and he's one of those lovely people who, never fails to revert to a message, always checks in on you. I didn't know this of the man before I worked with him. I didn't know this.
Hello everybody, I'm Rani and welcome to Zoom Speak Easy. My guest today is an artist who has been doing such quality work for a really long time. He's fearless, he's been doing his own thing and nothing has really boxed. I'm of course talking about the very talented Prithviraj. Hello, thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
You truly have been though fearless in what you've done, because when you have the kind of fan following that you have, a lot of actors feel pressured to do only a certain kind of thing. Of course, we all know that the kind of content that comes out of Malayalam cinema is absolutely superlative, and they themselves believe in the fact that we have to create content that is path-breaking and that is different. But I know it's a struggle that a lot of actors of your stature and continue, because you come. You are a big brand today in that way, struggle with, because you're constantly told to do things that will be successful at the box office. I feel like you've still managed to navigate through all of that wisely.
I can't take credit for that because, firstly, like you said, I'm blessed to be coming from an industry that believes in its lead stars or actors doing varied films and having a very varied filmography. And also when I look up and look at the seniors, the big stars of the industry like Mr. Mohanlal, Mr. Mammootty, the examples that they have set in front of us, telling us this is what you should do, is pretty much what we are doing. That is not to say that every film that comes out of Malayalam or that every film that I am doing is the greatest ever. We also make bad films. I have been part of bad films. I have been part of unsuccessful films. But at least the endeavor and the effort always has been to try and do something that challenges you, to try and do something that scares you a bit. We are very privileged and lucky to have an audience back home that encourages cinema, that dares to travel in a different path. So I can't take credit for it. I am just part of a larger ecosystem, which thankfully in the recent past is going through a very healthy phase. So yeah, it's got nothing to do with me. It's just a very rich, illustrious heritage of an industry.
Yeah. A little bit credit though, because the choices you're making, no one's really asking you to
I couldn't have made those choices if they didn't come my way, So yeah.
For a long time it was believed that the reason why Malayalam cinema was not making those kind of big numbers that Telugu and Tamil are making is because their content was more niche, While there were those massy films, of course, being made, but a lot of the content that was being made was like that. But I feel that, with movies that you directed and a lot of other directors, they actually broke this myth that you cannot find this mix between content and box office numbers, whether it's Lucifer or whether it's others. I think you all have managed to do that, and today I think it's reached a point where all of these box office numbers have become even larger for particularly Malayalam films.
I agree. We have discovered that our theatrical revenue largely was undiscovered, but that is also largely to the fact that we have now sort of managed to have proper distribution systems around the world in place. We are still not there fully. Malayalam cinema is still in the process of building a network around the world where we can get our films to be exhibited around the world properly and in a fashion that these films deserve to be shown. But I think somewhere around 2018, 19, when Lucifer released, is when we suddenly broke through the glass ceiling and realize that, there is so much of theatrical market available for Malayalam cinema around the world. And that is not just with the Malayali diaspora, There are film-loving people who would love to come and watch our content if it is accessible to them. And thanks in no small part to the streaming services. You know, during the lockdown, I think the streaming services acted as this catalyst for people around the world to discover what, according to them, was this newfound gem called Malayalam cinema. But yeah, all put together now, I think we have the liberty of making larger films, investing more money into our own cinema, because now we know that yes, we can hope to recover the money. And a film like Adujeevitham, a film like Goat Life, is unthinkable in Malayalam 15 years back, you know, which is the reason why we started ideating on the film in 2008, and it took us 10 years till 2018 to finally get it rolling, because at this scale, at this budget, it was impossible in Malayalam for the longest time. But today it is possible. Today we can think of it and execute it, and we can actually hope to recover the money theatrically. So that is truly a blessing, and I hope filmmakers, producers, actors, talent in Malayalam understand what a fine opportunity this presents and utilizes it accordingly.
Film in a massive way, because when you see the teaser, you can compare it with Dune in a little way. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
where I'm going with this. Saying that, you know, the visuals have not been compromised. The kind of, you see that there is massive budgets and there is a story to tell.
The similarities with Dune is largely because of the fact that large portions of the Goat Life was shot in the same location in Vadiram.
Yeah.
But the similarities also end there. Dune is completely different. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the franchise. This is a completely different story. But the fact does remain that because this is largely a one-actor film, that is just, as you can see, just pretty much. Yeah, there are other actors, wonderful characters, other actors, beautiful performances too. But the film is largely a deep, meditative character study of Najib, this one person. We had the liberty, and see, the most important part about shooting in a topography like a desert is the natural light, how you use the natural light. So we had the liberty of actually scheduling scenes to particular times of the day. Like we would decide this particular scene needs to happen between 4 and 6. So we would shoot that scene between 4 and 6 across 25 days, you know. And then we would have another scene that we always thought should happen when the light is dead on top with the shadows under your eyes. So let's say between 12 and 2. So we'll shoot that scene between 12 and 2 across 12 days. So we had that liberty, which is why I think the film looks so spectacular, but that is not taking anything away from Blessy, the genius filmmaker, and Sunil, our cinematographer, who is an absolute world-class talent. You know, I think this film will be, although in Malayalam industry all of us know what Sunil is capable of, I think this film will be that one film where the world starts talking about this cinematographer called Sunil. Yeah.
This is wonderful to hear. Like, I completely agree. I think the visuals are stunning. But also, you've done such characters in the past which are flawed, extremely dark as well. And I think you have the ability, and you choose to kind of delve into those dark spaces that a lot of men go through, or a lot of humans go through your characters. This one also, you know, you see the glimpses of it and you realize that he's, of course, a man who is trying to, you know, put his survival instinct at his best. And there is a story that I hope that the trailer will tell us more about. I want to know how much of it does it consume you when you're doing it, because you've done a couple of this where you like to sort of push yourself a bit.
Najib is not a flawed person. I don't think there's a lot of grey to Najib. If at all, there is a lot of grey to the circumstances surrounding him. But he himself is actually a very pure-hearted man, which is the reason why he was able to get through this ordeal, I think. Because he is so pure as a person inside that his faith is unshakable, you know. He has this absolute faith in God and in the reason for him to be on earth. They know that, you know, although he does come very close at one point to taking his own life, after coming out of that experience, he realizes that, no, he's meant to live through this and make it out of here. And it is that faith that forms the cornerstone of this narrative, of the story. And like I said, it's a very meditative character study. The film is very much divided into 3 phases of the character's ordeal, which is why the 3 appearances that you'll see in the posters.
Correct.
One One is of course a flashback where he's happy and he's in Kerala and he's this newly married man with a lot of dreams. And the dichotomy is that in Kerala he lives in a world that is surrounded by water. You know, he is actually a manual sand miner who free dives into the riverbeds and takes sand from the riverbeds. So he spends about 6 to 8 hours every day in water. So his world is full of water. And then he lands up in this place where he does not have water even for his ablutions. And he's stuck there. And there are 3 phases to that ordeal. One is where he is in denial that this can't be happening to me. This is just temporary. It's a mistake. I'm going to get out of this. That phase of denial. And then there is a phase of anger where, you know, it's all about why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? Then there is this phase of absolutely coming to terms with the fact that however long this lasts, this is something that I have to live through. So that is the way I approach the character, because I realized that I had to sort of break it down. I couldn't approach it as one big character arc because it was just too enormous and too deep for it. So in my mind, I made this classification of these 3 stages of the character. And this is something when I first presented to Blessy, I remember, you know, he also was like, oh, you know, that's, yeah, maybe that's how we should. And when I told Blessy that this is how I want to approach the character, in fact, a lot about the way we filmed the scenes also changed. Like now we have the anger scenes, we have the helplessness scenes, we have the denial scenes. So we approached making the film also that way. So for me, it is 3 distinct phases that you have to go through, and there is a lot of the story between the phases that is not told to the audience. So you sort of lose the journey at one point and you pick it up from another point where he's already transitioned into the next phase. And it is up to me as an actor and it is up to Blessy as a filmmaker to convey through what is happening in this phase to tell you what transpired between the 2 phases. So it's a very complex character that way. It's a very complex film to make that way. But at the end of it, it's the simplest story on earth. It's a story about a man who just wouldn't give up.
You know, it sounds fascinating, obviously.
I hope it is. Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, when you describe it that way. But I thought, like, even if it's not grey, which is what I got from the trailer, that he's obviously a man who's going through, like, having a survival instinct of that level and to survive it all. Like you say, it's breaking you, right, inside.
Yeah.
So does that take a toll on your mental health when you kind of do characters like this, or are you able to kind of dissociate? Like I said, in the past also you've done characters that are dark. Now, can they consume you, is what I'm asking.
Usually I'm very good with disassociation, you know, be it with my characters, be it with the results of my films. I've repeated this multiple times. I treat my successes and failures the same way because, you know, on 28th this film releases. Whatever happens, 29th is going to be the same day for me. It's not going to change. I've been that way for the longest time. I believe it's very important for anybody, and especially in cinema, to sort of disassociate yourself, especially with the results of your efforts. But I don't think I can categorize this film and this character with all the other films and characters I have done, because for the simple reason I've lived with this for way too long. I don't know how many actors would have lived with ideating for one character for 16 years. You know, I'm only 41, so that is a significant part of my life, you know, where every day or every other day I might be doing something completely unrelated, another film, I might be traveling, I might be, I don't know, driving in somewhere in Italy, and suddenly I'll be stopping for a coffee and I will suddenly switch to, oh, Najib, you know. So that's been happening for the longest time in my life. So because of that, I don't know what the disassociation process for this character is going to be. Even if I fool myself into believing that I have walked away, I'm thinking there is going to be a bit of Najib left in me for the rest of my life. Because this is something that I have thrown myself at, both physically and mentally. And this character, and more than the character, this life that was lived by this person, do not forget, this is a true story. And that person is very much alive and among us, you know, amongst us now. So for that fact, there are no regrets. And one thing I'm very proud of is that this is a film that I can confidently tell you that I didn't leave anything in the reserve for. I'm not going to watch this film and think, oh, I could have tried a bit more, because I really couldn't have tried a bit more.
That's a lot to say. You really hear actors say that. I love that. You know, when I was saying that you've really done what you really wanted to do, I would like to bring up Aiyyaa, because it's a film that I feel might not have done well at the box office, but at the time when I saw it, I thought it was just so much fun to watch. And for an actor, again, you extremely successful, still in Malayalam, and you were to make that kind of choice, you know, to say, I'm okay. I'm okay to do this character. It's going to be fun. Let's see what it is. And I thought that was very interesting. How did you look at the journey when you started A? And you know, and today, because I know in between there have been a lot of people who've tried to say that let's do a mainstream Hindi film. I'm aware of the fact that a lot of people have reached out to you, but you waited.
So Aiyyaa happened when Anurag Kashyap reached out and told me if you would like to, you know, consider doing this film. And the idea was based on a Marathi short film done by Sachin, the director of Aiyyaa, which I thought was the most beautiful story ever. You know, I just thought it was one of the most unusual angles of looking at lust and love. You know, about a woman who just falls in love with the way a man smells. How many people have said that story? And I found it very flattering that Sachin thought that the object of Rani Mukherji's affection and lust should be me, you know. So make no mistake, I had a ball. So you know,
It looked like it.
Yeah. So I mean, it was very new to me. You know, I was a Malayalam actor. I had never had somebody focus a camera on my abs before that.
Which is why the question. Thank you. You're going in the right direction.
So yeah, I mean, I had a ball, but it just to me presented the most quirky idea behind narrating a story about a woman's lust and her want, and you know, I thought it was a fun film, but like you said, it didn't connect with the audience. It did not do well, so there are no excuses. You know, as filmmakers, as actors, we have to take responsibility for the film. Yeah, I mean, after that, I did Aurangzeb with Yash Raj, which is again Atul Sabarwal, another filmmaker that I rate very highly. He's just one of the finest writers I have had the opportunity to talk to. And then I did a small cameo for Neeraj Pandey. In fact, which is when I met Akshay sir. You know, I did that film with Taapsee. It was Naam Shabana. I'm so sorry. Naam Shabana. I did a cameo for that film, and that's when I met Akshay sir. And that opened up a whole new, you know, relationship for me. Akshay sir is a good friend today, and he's one of those lovely people who, you know, never fails to revert to a message, always checks in on you. I didn't know this of the man before I worked with him. You know, I didn't know this. And it was just, you know, it started off as he was there on location for one day, I think, when we were shooting in Delhi. And it was that relationship that then, you know, grew into me producing a film with him. Now I've just finished acting in a film with him called Bade Miyan Chote Miyan. And after that I just became really busy in Malayalam. I turned director. I directed a couple of films, and Malayalam cinema was just giving me the most wonderful cinema ever. And it took a long time for me to read something in Hindi that made me think, okay, I want to do this. And the first one that I said yes to is not even Bade Miyan Chote Miyan. That film, although we have finished shooting, is yet to be announced, which is again, it's a really complex character and a lovely script. So when the makers announce it, I think the world will know of it. Yeah.
A lot of actors and directors have gone ahead and said that, you know, let's separate art and social issues in cinema. You know, cinema is for entertainment. But you are among the few, and of course your body of work is testament to the fact that you believe, sure, it is for entertainment, but we can say something worthwhile when we are doing it. And it is important to take responsibility of what you are saying. And the other side of it also is the fact that you said, while we can use violence, but you have to see where you're using it, we should have the ability to use it as well. I want you to tell me, and for someone who's a director and who's, I think, kind of found the right balance in even this, what are your thoughts today? Because today you do a film, you know, there are discussions about, is it appropriate, you know, is it okay? But then as an artist, you also are in that conundrum that how can I be stopped?
So I am a firm believer that art cannot and should not be censored, and art should be left independent. Now you can choose if you want to see it or not see it, and also to who the art caters to rightfully needs to be censored. Censorship to me needs to happen at the theatre doors. You know, if there is a film rated 18 plus, make sure only 18 plus people are watching it. You want to bring in a 21 plus certification, I'm all for it, feel free. But you should not go out there and say, you cannot make this or you should not say this. I think it should be left independent, which is the healthy way to be treating art. Not just art, I think, not just art in the sense of cinema, I think in terms of writing, painting, because it's something that is born out of very deep thought in somebody's minds. It is impossible to censor it at that level. Once you start censoring it there, then I think it just sort of stems creativity at a larger scale. So as an artist, I'm a believer that art should not be censored at that level. Of course, there is a regulatory body, there is a censor board, for cinema I'm saying. And as filmmakers, we are required to subject our film to the regulatory body, and they will certify our films, which is a process that I am perfectly fine with, because that process then decides, okay, you have made a piece of art, now this can only be seen by this section of audience. But I do not agree with the fact that a body can exist that can tell me, you cannot make this, take that out of what you have made, that I don't believe in.
Which is, okay, fair, absolutely. I didn't meet you during Salars, and I have to quickly wrap this now, so I'll quickly put in this question. I think it was a fascinating world to see. You're among the few in the beginning only had told that it's like creating our own Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And all of you all owned it, I think.
Oh, that part of it you're yet to see.
Oh, this is why the question. When I saw it, I realized that it is truly a world of its own. And once you get a hang of the characters and the use to the arcs, I think it just falls in organically. Tell us a little about how exciting part 2 is going to be. And I think about these really genuine bonds that we see even off the record in conversations when you all were having during some promotions, you, Prabhas, Shruti. I think that itself translates on screen, because I genuinely think there's such wonderful conversations that you all were having offset as well, which kind of translated.
Yeah, so I mean, I could not, I have not worked with Shruti per se, because we never had a combination scene in Salar, but I sort of got to know her reasonably well during the promotions, and she's just the most fun girl. With Prabhas, yeah, I mean, he's like, we have good friends now. Salar 1 for me was, again, very much like Hindi, Telugu is an industry that I had not been part of for the longest time. And in fact, people tend to associate my relationship with Hombale with me having distributed KGF 2 in Kerala. But the first time Hombale approached me was actually right after Lucifer to direct a film for them, which I am doing actually after the one that I am currently directing. And then the conversation from there went on to me doing a part in Salar. And this happened when KGF 2 was being shot. It was only being shot then. And I am a huge fan of Prashant Neel. I think he's a very, very special filmmaker who has a very specific skill set that very, very few filmmakers in India or in the world have, and it's a joy to be, forget acting in his direction, it's a joy to be watching someone like that operate. I have learned a lot from Prashant, and I've learned a lot from Prabhas. And Salar 1 is pretty much the prelude to the actual story. And I remember when he first told me the entire story as one film, that is Salar 1 and 2 was initially supposed to be one film. And the climax of Salar that you see right now was the interval back then. The first thing I told Prashant is, it can't happen. It is just too dense to be one film. Even now, I think people think Salar 1 is too dense. I think people have this, have heard multiple opinions where people have told me, there's just so much information dumped. I agree, it can get a little too much to follow when you watch the film. But all of that, I think, will make sense in part 2, which you're going to start very soon. So, yeah.
Patience is what you're saying, is
yes.
the key. Okay.
I'll never claim to be the most talented. I'll never claim to be the most gifted. But I have a definite shot at being the most hardworking.
I love that. Of course, humility as usual. Okay, if you had to describe one actor as Geo-80 from different industries, you can pick one from in all the industries that we know, who would you pick and why?
Amitabh Bachchan, Kamal Haasan. In Malayalam, I know this is going to sound diplomatic, but for anybody who's grown up at the phase that I have, you cannot differentiate between the two big M's, Mammootty, Mohanlal. Telugu cinema is something that I only started discovering very recently, so I might make the wrong choice here. But when I started discovering Telugu cinema, some of the films that I've seen are the old Chiranjeevi sir films, and my God, that man is such a talent. Yeah, like I don't know if the current I don't know if people today go back and see 80s films and all that. Is that in fashion now? I don't think so. But I enjoy doing all that, right? When I'm switching channels and there's a Telugu channel and there's an old 80s film, I sometimes just stay there and watch it just to know what it's about. He's just an amazing actor. Yeah.
Okay. What's the most common misconception that people have about you, that the ones who don't know you, which is obviously not true?
You know, I don't think there are many misconceptions about me. People think I'm a little like standoffish, which is a very right conception. People think that sometimes I'm a little too forthright, which is very, very true. So I don't know if there are many misconceptions about me. When you are in this industry, by the time you're 17, 18, and and you've lived through the advent of social media and paparazzi and all that, there aren't many secrets you can keep. So.
Okay, fair enough. As a director, 3 actors from the Hindi film industry that you would love to direct, and from also Malayalam industry still.
Well, I mean, I'm a huge Amitabh Bachchan fan. Like myself and my writer, Murli Gopi, we are both big Amitabh Bachchan fans. So one of our guilty pleasures is when we want a break from writing and all that, we go into my home theatre or his home theatre and we watch these 80s Bachchan films, Salim Javed Bachchan films. So yeah, I mean, I would absolutely love to direct Amitabh Bachchan sir, though I don't think I'm good enough to be directing him yet. I would love to direct Shah Rukh Khan sir. Aamir Khan sir is a big inspiration for me, both as an actor and a filmmaker. And there are many, many more younger guys, like Ranveer. I think they're all very, very talented. And in Malayalam, I have I'm directing my 3rd film with Mohanlal sir right now. I would love to direct a film with Mammootty sir. Yeah.
You're all there. You're pretty much any checkbox has been kind of tick marked, right? Isn't it? Because you have.
No, there's many more things I want to do.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. To end it, if you require 3 survival instinct qualities that an actor must have to survive in the film industry, what would they be and why?
Well, most importantly is your ability to disassociate, like I mentioned. It's very important that you treat your success and your failure the same way. Don't celebrate your success for too long and don't wallow in the depths of misery after a failure for too long. Secondly, remind yourself that there is always room for improvement. The world, in this business, you will always end up being part of a world that makes you believe that you are the absolute best. You are never the best. And thirdly, I think it's very important, especially in cinema, because it's such an aspirational business, to never lose sight of the fact that just outside that door, there might be somebody 100 times more talented than you waiting for that one opportunity. So treat your 150th opportunity as your first one.
Fantastic advice. Thank you so much. And I think after this interview, after getting more insights, I think all of us are really excited to definitely watch Court Live. All the very best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.